So hello everyone, welcome to this another video of Scale Up India. I'm Abhishek Verma and you have started watching JDBC Part-7 Transactions in JDBC. Now whenever the transaction word comes in our mind, the very first thing which appears is the money. So generally we say that whenever there is an exchange of money between two people or from an account to another account, then it is considered as a transaction. But here we are interacting with the database, and in the terms of database, this transaction has a little different meaning. So in the terms of database, this transaction basically means the smallest logical unit of a work that is going to access your database, or more possibly we can say it is going to modify your database. So it is the very smallest unit. Like in other words, we say that the smallest unit is an atom in the real life. So same way, here I am saying this is the smallest unit in terms of your database interaction. Now every transaction should follow some basic properties, and these properties are known as ACID properties. If you have already worked with the database, you must have learned about these ACID properties in one way or the another. And these ACID properties are atomicity, consistency, isolation, and durability, and hence the term is coined as ACID. Now since we are working with the Pakistan application, so we will also have our own way of explaining this ACID properties first. So first of all, we will just cover the ACID properties, and then we will practically see that how transaction helps in JDBC. And in case if you are not interested in learning about the ACID properties, then you can directly skip this particular section and directly move on to the practical part. So timestamps are already there in the description section. Now first of all, let's talk about atomicity. So imagine this is the initial state. There is a boy named as Tom, and then there is a girl named as Cherry. Now Tom is having two pets, and Tom wants to impress Cherry. So for this purpose, Tom thinks that okay, what if I give one of my pet to her, then she will also become the part of Pakistan, and then we will be having more interaction. Yeah, a very simple logic. So for this purpose, Tom decides to give one of his pets to Cherry, and then this should be the state. But you will say that okay, no, this is not a right state, because here if Tom is giving one of his pets, then it should be like both of them should have one pet each. But what if after the transaction there is one pet with Tom but there is no pet with the Cherry? Now in this case we will say that this is not a complete atomic transaction, because half of the things happen. The pet got deducted from the Tom but it didn't got added to the Cherry, and hence this is the wrong final state. The right final state would have been that the pet is deducted from Tom and added to the Cherry's account, and hence that would have been considered as an atomic. So this is the very first thing, that all the transactions which we are making should be atomic in nature. They should not be somewhere in middle, that the amount got deducted from one account and didn't got added to the another account. That should not happen, otherwise it won't be right. Yeah. Now the next one is consistency. So again, let's consider this scenario. So this time Tom is again having two pets and Cherry is already having one of the pets. So in total we have three pets here. Now there is someone we can assume like an auditor. An auditor says that in total there are three pets with these two people. Now after the transaction, what if we say that Tom is going to have two pets but the Cherry is going to have two pets again? Now auditor will consider this as four pets. Now the question is, from where does this new pet came? So here we are assuming that no one can get the pet from outside, so there should be an exchange between them only. But if there is a complete number of change in the number of pets, then this is wrong. Earlier there were three, now there are four. So this is again not consistent in nature. And the consistent state would have been that Tom is giving one of the pets to Cherry, and then Tom is having one pet, Cherry is having two pets, and when the auditor audits, then there should be again three pets. So this would have been a consistent state, because before transaction also there should be three, and after transaction also there should be three pets only. So the second property we say that all the transactions should be consistent in nature. It should not be a sudden change which goes uncountable. Now the next one is isolation. So for this, let's assume that Tom is having two pets initially and Cherry is having one pet, and parallelly we are having one auditor who is going to count the number of pets. So the auditor counts as three pets, which is fine. Now Tom again decides to give one of the pets to Cherry, and then this is a state where the pet has been deducted from Tom but is not yet added to the Cherry. So you will assume that in reality this will be for something like a sudden milliseconds. But in between, if the auditor is going to read the state, so auditor will read it as two pets, because currently Tom is also having one pet and Cherry is also having one pet. So this is right also. But overall, if we see, then this is a wrong state, because here auditor is able to read in between the transactions. So again, this is wrong. And the right state would have been that auditor should be able to read only the state either after the transaction or before the transaction, so that in total the number of pets should remain 3 only. So here we say that every transaction should be in isolation from each other, which means that one transaction should not be able to read the state of another transaction in between. It should be able to read the transaction only once it has been committed successfully. Otherwise, we will end up in a situation where we may count it as two pets, because one pet is neither with the Tom nor with the Cherry. So again, that is wrong. And there can be many more scenarios also for this. But as of now, this is one of the simplest scenarios. Now the fourth one is durability. So here we say that let's assume Tom is having two pets, Cherry is having one pet, and then Tom decides to give one of the pets to Cherry, so that in the final state Tom is having one pet and Cherry is having two of the pets. Now this is fine and the transaction has occurred successfully. Now once the transaction has occurred successfully, let's assume there is a power failure. Now because of this power failure, if your transaction gets rolled back, then this is not a good scenario, because here we say that our database should be durable in nature. Once a transaction has been committed or it has been written in the particular disk, then it should not be getting changed automatically. It should have no impacts of the power failure after the transaction. So that should not happen, and hence we say that all the transactions should be durable in nature. So these were the four properties of we can consider with the transaction, or we can say these are the overall four properties of our database. So now, with keeping these four properties in mind, let's move towards the coding part and see how transactions play an important role in the JDBC also. So here we are with our demo number 5, and in this demo number 5, we are making usage of our Pakistan scenario only, but this time we are doing something different. So for this one, what I have done is, let me just execute the code once. So if I execute and if I scroll this up, so you see that this time I'm having only 3 options with the Pakistan, and all of these options are related to the adding of owners and pets. So the first one is with the automatic transaction, second one is with the manual transaction, and third one is the manual transaction with the Savepoint. So we are going to discuss all of them one by one. Now let me stop this first and explain you through the code what are the changes which I have done. So I have stopped it, and let me go to my util, or let me directly go to my demo first so that I can show you step by step. Now when we say case 1, then it says save owners automatically. And here what we are having is that there is a particular method as generate owners. So if I open the implementation of this method, then what happens is that I'm having a particular for loop with me. Now the initial count is 1 and the for loop is also going to execute 5 times. And whenever the for loop is going to execute, it is going to create an owner DTO object for us. Now for this, it is going to set the particular ID. So obviously the ID is going to start from 1. Then it is going to provide some first name, last name, gender, city, state, pet ID, pet name, date of birth, gender, type, and all these things. And at the end, it is going to add the owner to the owner DTO list. And after the whole method has been executed, we will be getting a list of 5 owners. So it's a very simple thing. And here we are not accepting the owners from the user with the help of keyboard. Now there is one more trick also which I have done here, that if the I is an even number, which is like 2 or 4, then the mobile number will become mobile even and email ID will become email even. And if it is odd, so they will become mobile odd and email odd. So just a small change I have done here. Now if you remember, as per my code, let me just show you here once in my database.sql. Let me open it with the text editor. So you see that my mobile number and email ID should be unique in nature, which means that 2 mobile numbers or 2 email IDs cannot be same. So hence, if one of the mobile numbers is like mobile even, then there can't be another mobile number as mobile even. So for sure, whenever I will try to add these 5 owners to my database, an error is going to occur because I won't be able to add all the 5 owners, because maybe the first owner will get added successfully, because for that time the count is going to be 1 and mobile number is going to be mobile odd. For the second one, it may become mobile even, but for the third one, it will again become mobile odd and it will throw the exception, because mobile numbers should be unique in nature, email ID should be unique in nature. So this is, I have done something deliberately here. Now let me take you again to the demo class. So once it has generated all the 5 owners with something like this, I will be calling the method save owners automatically. And if I go there, so this is again a very simple one. I'm not doing anything much and I'm directly saving them in the database. So something like this. And this is the method. So in the starting, I'm having my SQL string, which is the insert query, and I will be inserting all the owners one by one. So I'm creating a connection, and since I need to change the input again and again, so I'm making usage of the prepared statement. Then I'm creating a connection by providing the URL, username and password, and then I'm preparing the statement. So that is also done. Then I'm loading the driver, and after this, since I will be having 5 owners, I will be converting all these owners to my SQL string. So all of them I will be setting one by one, and then I will be executing the method execute update 5 times, because after setting every owner, I wish to save the owner to my database. So in order to save 5 owners, I will be interacting with the database 5 times. And besides this, the things are simple. So I'm just having a simple catch block, which is going to catch all kinds of exceptions. And then I'm having a finally block to close the prepared statement and the connection variables. So that is also done here. So it's a very simple code. 5 owners I wish to save by executing execute update method 5 times. And at the end, I'm assuming that all of them should be there in the database. Although I know that it is not going to happen because I have already done some of the mistakes. So before I execute this code for the first time, what do you think that how many owners will get saved in my database on executing the code? Will 5 owners get saved or 0 owners will get saved? That we need to check. And before this, let me also take you to my database here. So this is my table, and let me just increase the font size bit. So something like this. I have increased the font size. So let me execute this statement, and initially you can see that there is no data in my table. So it's an empty table. So whatever we are going to do will be added after executing the code only. So let me come back here and execute the code. And for you the question is, how many owners will be saved in my database? So what do you think? Will it be 5? Will it be 0? Or will it be 2? Or will it be 3? So let's execute this. So again I have executed, and let me press 1. As of now, for other two methods I don't have a code, so those are empty, so there is no benefit of executing them. So let me just say 1 here, and as you can see, as expected, we are getting an exception. Now for this exception, since I'm printing the stack trace also, so I'm getting all these red lines, and then I'm throwing the exception also, so hence I'm getting this one, that there is a duplicate entry of mobile odd, because all the mobile numbers, as we know, should be unique in nature. So that is the issue. So let's try to understand what happened. So initially the very first owner came here with the owner ID as 1. Now since the owner ID is 1, mobile number will be mobile odd. So that will go up till here, and line number 52 will get executed. So it should be saved in your database. Done. So owner ID with 1 has been saved, let's assume. Then it will be executed for the second one. Now this time owner ID is 2, and since owner ID is 2, so mobile number is mobile even. So again it will be executed and it will be saved. So that is also done. Now for owner ID 3, since owner ID 3 is an odd, so mobile number will be again odd this time. And whenever mobile number will be mobile odd, so it will try to save it here, and then it will say that all the mobile numbers should be unique in nature, and hence an exception has been thrown. But by this time execute update has been executed at least twice. So I can assume that at least 2 owners should be there in my database. So let's try to check here. So we'll go here and we will execute this again. And yeah, to my surprise, I can see owner ID 1 is there with the data, and then owner ID 2 is also there again with the data. So this is fine, and this was expected because we know that at least 2 owners have been saved, and for the third one we got an exception, so it just stopped the code, and then no other owner got saved. So this was as expected. And here we saw that everything happened automatically. So the commit happened automatically. We didn't commit it manually, because by default in JDBC the commits are automatic in nature. So once you are saying anything like execute update, the thing is going to be committed until unless there is any kind of issue. For the third owner, execute update tried to execute, but then since there was an issue, it got rolled back, and once it got rolled back, it threw the exception and your code stopped. So this is something which we saw here. Now the scenario is, what if I want to perform something like this, that if there is any kind of exception, then it should not save any data to my database, which means that my goal is to add 5 owners to the database. And even if one owner is going to have any kind of issue, then none of the 5 owners should be saved in the database. That means at the end either it should be 0 owners or 5 owners. It should not be any in between scenario. Yeah, because for me that is the atomic scenario for me, that either it should be 0 or 5, not anything like in between. So for this, what should I do? First of all, let me clear the database. So for this I will just say truncate, and I'll execute this, and I'll just show you that okay, again my table is empty. Now what I will do is that I'll create another method here, that is save owners manually, and I will be doing very simple things here. I'll just copy the code, something like this. I've copied, and I'll paste it here. So this is the one. Now some of you may say that, okay, since you are copying and pasting everything again, so it's better that you could have made this thing as a common variable, a global variable on top. You could have written this part somewhere else. But as of now, that is not my goal. So my goal is not to enhance this code in a better way. The goal is just to show you a demo with the transactions, and that's it. Hence, I'm not concerned for all that, and I will be just copying and pasting here. Yeah. Now the thing is that if again I will execute the method, so all the commits and the rollback will be automatic. But I want control in my hand. I want that either all the 5 owners should be saved or they should not be saved. That's simple. So for this, what I'll do is that first of all, here I will be saying that it should not be an automatic update or automatic commit here. So after creating a connection, I will copy this and I'll put it here, and here I will say dot set auto commit, something like this. So there is a method set auto commit which can take a boolean value. By default, this is true in nature, which means, as I said, that JDBC is going to support default auto commit, but we want it to be false. So I have made false here. So that is my thing number 1. So my thing number 2 is that if I'm saying here auto commit as false, then I should be mentioning somewhere then that when the auto commit should happen, or not the auto commit, but when the commit should happen. So I want that commit should happen after all the 5 executions, or after whole my owner list gets saved to my database, which means that I don't want commit to be after every execute update. Instead, the commit should happen only once the whole list has been executed successfully, which means somewhere here. So I'll just say connection dot, is there any option like commit? So let's, yeah, here it goes. So we'll just say here connection dot commit. Now what will happen is that for the first owner, it will come here and this one will be executed. So it will be executed, but it won't be committed. Then for the second owner, it will be executed, it won't be committed. Then same for the third, fourth and fifth. And once all the 5 commits have been occurred, then only it is going to be committed, only after all. In case if there is any issue in between, then this line won't be executed. So this line won't be executed at all. But in that case, what will happen for our scenario? Because for us, when we executed for owner ID 1, that went well and execute happened, update worked fine. For the second one also it worked fine. But for the third one, it threw the exception and it came here. So now this commit won't be executed. But then what should we do? Shall we just leave it like as it is? The answer is no. As a good practice, we say that whenever any kind of exception will occur, we should do a rollback as a good practice. So let's do a rollback here, something like this. So during the exceptions only we are doing here a rollback. Now for this rollback, it says that okay, there are chances of SQL exception. So let's surround it with a try catch block. So let me just remove this commented line, and yeah, it looks something like this. And that's fine also. So if any exception will occur in this line, then it will be caught here. Otherwise, rest of the things are going to work fine. So I have done it something like this. Now let me execute it. So again, I will execute this, and you know that I have already emptied my table. So it goes here, and now I will be clicking 2, not 1 this time. So now what do you think what is going to happen? How many owners will be saved in the database? So although we will be executing this execute update twice, but we will say here connection dot rollback, due to which none of the owners will be saved in our database. And that's my assumption. So let's execute, and again some exception got occurred. So there was nothing like exception is not going to happen. Exception will happen, the control will come here, and then only the rollback will be executed. Let's see in the database. So we'll go here and we'll execute this again. So this time, as you can see, that none of the owners have been saved to our table, because now we have controlled that when do we want to make a commit and when do we want to make a rollback. So that is in our hands. And another interesting thing is, some of you may say that, okay, since we are not doing commit after every update, we should not even do a rollback also here. I mean, that may not be necessary. And yeah, that is fine also. If you don't wish to write an exception rollback here, then also this is fine. No need of writing explicitly a rollback here, because you are not committing anything. So even that is good. But as a good practice, it's always better that whenever you are handling the committing part manually, then the commit method also should be available in your code, and rollback part also should be available in your code, so that later on if someone is trying to read your code or if they are trying to understand your code, then they can understand that what is going to happen at which particular statement. So this is fine. And hence we saw that how we can handle the transactions on our own. And for this, the first most important thing is that this method will work only and only when you are saying auto commit as false. If you don't make this, then you may say that they are not going to execute properly. They won't do any kind of commit or rollback explicitly, because JDBC will do a commit on its own. So this is done here. Now the next one is that here we saw that with the help of transaction, we were able to control when do we wish to commit, when do we wish to roll back. Now I want a scenario where I don't want to roll back it completely. I want a little bit more control. Yeah. And that control is in the sense that if any odd person or if any odd owner has been added, then that should be committed. But if the last owner is an even owner, then it should not be committed. Yeah, it should be rolled back. So what I want is that that it should roll back only and only the last even owner only, not the odd owner. Which means that you may want something like a checkpoint. I mean, you must have played this different kinds of games, and one of the popular games is Mario. So you know that whenever we are playing the Mario, then there are like a whole different journey. Sometimes the journey is very, very big. And then there are chances that your character is going to die anytime in between. So you don't want to start from the very first point every time. Instead, there are something like checkpoints. And if you are reaching to a particular checkpoint, then whenever your character is going to die, you can resume from there only. So here also, in our case, we want something like a checkpoint in between. And for me, the checkpoint is all the odd owners. And that is just a scenario. In the actual scenario, it will be something different. But as you know that we are having a very less data, so I have made it something like this. That if there is any odd owner got added in between, then that should be my checkpoint here. Yeah. So for this, let me just copy the code again. And let's see how we are going to implement the checkpoint part. So I have copied this and let me paste it here. So here we won't be using the term checkpoint. Instead, we will be using the term Savepoint instead of the checkpoint. And again, your checkpoint will come into the picture only when the auto commit is false and you are doing the commit and the rollback manually here. Now the next question comes is that how I'm going to add a checkpoint here. So for this, let's try to understand what we need. So this for loop will be executed for the first owner. Now the first owner is going to be an odd person. And I want that for that odd person, this execute update will be executed. And after this, it should be considered as a checkpoint. So that means after this execute update, I want to have a checkpoint. But that also only in a scenario when the owner ID is odd in nature. So let me first of all have a condition that if this owner dot get id, that is copy, and let me just paste it here. So what should be the condition for this odd and even? So I'm saying that whenever I will try to divide it by 0, the remainder should be something like not equals to 0. So if your remainder is not equals to 0, that means the id would have been an odd id. So this will look up something like this. And in this case, I should be saving a checkpoint. So for this, what I'll do is I'll just say here connection dot save, something like not set but save here, and this should be something like a set. Okay, so it should be not save but set. So it happens sometimes. So this is the set save point. So I have mentioned it here, and your save point should have a name, because again you will see that in your journey there will be multiple checkpoints. So at which checkpoint do you want to roll back? So that should be able to provide it here. So what name should we be providing here? Let's try it. So although we can provide any name here, but let's say that I wish to say here something like save point or something like a checkpoint after owner id, and then it should be something like owner id. So this would have been the very easiest way to know the checkpoints or the save points. So this is my save point which I have saved here, that after every odd owner has been went for execute update, a save point will be saved here. Yeah, and in case if everything works fine, then only I will be committing. Now what happens that there will be an exception. So let's try to assume that scenario. So for the first owner, execute update has been done, and then you have saved the checkpoint also, so that is fine. Now again it will come here. Now for the second owner, execute update will occur, but this time this save point won't execute because now we are not saving for the even owner. Now for the third one, again execute update will happen, and as you know, this time the exception will occur. Now when the exception will occur, your control will come to the catch block. Now you want a rollback, but if you will just say rollback, then it will go to the very initial state, initially when there was nothing, and I don't want something like this. I want it to roll back only till this particular save point. Now for this, how should I point out this particular save point? So one of the easiest option is that you can save the save point. I mean, you may say that, okay, can we use this name? So directly you can't. So what we can do is we can save it somewhere, and the output will be a save point data type. So let's try to save it here. So I will say here save point, something like this, and this is just like a save point. Initially this is null. Yeah, and this save point, let me try to get from again this java.sql. So this I have done. Let me just copy this particular part and save it here. So here my save point will be get saved, and now what I want is that I want to roll back till this particular save point here. So here I will say roll back to the save point. Now is it all? Is it done? The answer is no, because here you have said to roll back till that particular save point. Now when it will roll back to that particular save point, it will find that there is one owner for which execute update has been executed, but we need to commit that particular one. So that particular single owner needs to be committed. So after this, we will again say here correction dot commit. So this commit is for committing all the changes before this particular save point. So rollback is that after this save point, if anything has occurred, then roll back that. And commit means that whatever has occurred till this save point, commit that particular thing. So that was the purpose. And if you will say then, okay, can we skip writing this particular part? Like, Can I say something like this? The answer is yes, this is also fine. So if you don't wish to write anything here, then also it is fine. But if you wish, then you can write it something like this. There may be one or the another way that you can get this save point also, and you can print the data or for some kind of logging purposes. Here we are not using that. Yeah. So something like this can be done. And this time, again, before executing, let's try to see how our database looks like. So currently it is empty. So let me execute the code. And this time I will be doing it with the manual transaction and save point. So now what do you think what will happen? It will be executed for the owner ID 1. It will say execute update and it will be saved in your set save point or the checkpoint. Then it will be executed for the second one, but this time that won't be saved here. Then for the third one, exception will occur. Then it will say roll back to the save point. Currently in the save point we have only one owner, so that one owner will be committed here. So I hope you are getting the scenario. Yeah. And let me execute this. So again, as expected, exception has occurred, but let's see how our database looks like. So this time if I execute, I can see only one owner is there. So although we have done the transactions here manually, but it doesn't mean there are 0 owners. There is one owner because of our particular checkpoint. And this is just our scenario. I mean, if you say that I want a checkpoint after every execute update, then you can go for that way also. But in that case, I will say then how will I show you any kind of difference? Because that was going on in our manual, or I can say the automatic updates also. Yeah. When this particular first one I executed, at that time it was also happening that it was working for each and every owner. So in order to have a different kind of scenario, I considered this particular if and else condition. Otherwise there is no complete logic that why I'm saying that only the even owner should be not saved, only the odd owner should be saved at the end here. So it is only for the demo purpose. Now you can again think that how you will do the same thing for a very big code. So as per your scenario, you can do this and you can try to make different kinds of changes. But yeah, that was all for this video with me in the video of transactions in database. And this is almost the end of our JDBC series, but we will still go for one more video after this, where I will try to show you the whole code with the help of try with resources, and we'll see that how we can still enhance our code. We will club all the demos which we have done till now. Our next video is not going to be very big in nature, but it will be just a kind of a crisp video which you can use directly for your college projects or just for revising all the concepts in a single video. But for that you also need to help me a little. Our number of subscribers are stuck at 380 only and it's not increasing. So if you like the video, then you need to subscribe the channel and also you need to support me. Otherwise, how will I come to know that people are liking the videos? I mean, I'm having too many things for you in the future, but for this at least you need to subscribe me, and that is for free. So I hope you can do so, and let's meet in the next video. Till then, thanks everyone.